But in my work with thousands of people with metabolic syndrome, what I found is that until you can connect at the level of the mind and the spirit, you really can't get the body to change. Yeah. You know, this is about making changes, making choices, and getting away from our default settings of doing things the way that we've done them for years and years and years. And it's just not possible to have a body transformation until you have a mind transformation, because it involves an entirely different way of thinking about yourself and the universe around. It involves changing your habits. It involves challenging beliefs that you've had for a long time. So it's really, you can't transform the person without first, looking at what's going on in their mind. Because conventionally, all the experts, the so-called experts, have said you should have 3 meals a day, you should have 3 snacks a day, cut down your calories, have more frequent small meals. And what it turns out that, again, from an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense too, that we're actually not designed to be eating all the time. We're designed to have a short eating window. We're designed to have a window of time when we're in the non-fed state too. Again, going back to the idea of cycling from feast and famine. So when we shorten the eating window, if we eat for 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day, and then we're allowing the body in the 16 hours or something like that, close to 16 hours, to really process and digest that food, we let the insulin levels drop. When the insulin levels are low, that's when the body goes into fat burn. If I'm constantly snacking and eating from the moment that I open my eyes from 6 in the morning until 10:30, 11, I'm going to bed and I'm having popcorn or cookies or ice cream while I'm watching television, I'm really maintaining a high level of insulin all the time. I'm not letting that insulin level go down. If the insulin level stays up, we don't go into fat burn. So we don't metabolize, we don't burn fat. When insulin is high all the time, we call that insulin resistance. It's like if I'm yelling at my kids all the time, what do? They tune me out, they can't even hear me. So essentially, you're tuning out something that's a noise, a constant noise all the time. So, and when we maintain high insulin levels all the time, essentially the body figures out a way to tune that out. And that's insulin resistance, again, in a simplified way. Yeah. And so intermittent fasting can be done in several different ways. A very popular way that is not that painful is the 16-8, right? So you shrink your feeding window to 16-8. And you look at many cultures, and for thousands of years, they've actually been doing this for spiritual reasons. It's part of the religious text that you don't eat after sunset, for example. So if you started eating at 8 and you stopped eating at 4 or 5, right? You shrunk your eating window to the 8 hours. Now you've got from 4 or 5 p.m. until all the way until 8 o'clock the next morning, again, for those insulin levels to drop, for the body to burn that fat. The other sort of side benefit of it is that a lot of our junk food eating happens in the evening hours, right? You go to the bar, you're drinking, beer, you're eating chips, you're eating nuts, you're eating all your junk food in the evening before dinner, and then after dinner you're snacking on ice cream, cookies, chips. And so by shrinking that feeding window, you automatically eliminate all of that. That's just a side benefit. Right, water is very, very important, and I talk about this in the book, that the majority of us, something like 70% of us, are chronically dehydrated, and we don't even know it. And so dehydration is not when you feel thirsty. That's not when you need to be drinking. It's like everything else. We need to be proactive. So a rule of thumb that I talk about with most people is half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be having about 100 ounces of water, which is almost a gallon of water. When you and I wake up in the morning, we are actually dehydrated because guess what? We haven't had anything to eat or drink for the 8 hours that we've been in bed. That's why we have breakfast. It's called break fast. We break the fast when we have breakfast, but we also haven't had any water. Our needs for water are a lot more urgent than our needs for food. So we really should be breaking the fast of water a lot more quickly than we worried about eating something and putting some food in our mouths. And metabolism is about energy delivery. If you look at your metabolism or your total daily energy expenditure in a day, and we have a little pie chart for that. So 70% of your total daily energy expenditure is from the activities that your body's doing just to stay alive. Your heart beating, your brain, your liver, your digestive system, your kidneys. And can you change that? You can't really modify that. Really the only thing in the metabolism that's within our control is the resting metabolic rate of our skeletal muscles. So we need to activate those skeletal muscles. We need to grow them if we can. It's really hard to grow more muscle. I've been struggling with that for a long time myself. But if we can just even maintain the muscles that we have, especially as we get older, that is absolutely paramount in maintaining turbometabolism. Because those muscles are your best friends. Muscles burn fat. People that do more resistance exercise are more energetic. They're also leaner, right? Contrary to the idea that, oh my God, I'm going to bulk up, I'll gain weight. No, you're going to look better. Your pants are going to fit better. You're going to be burning fat. That's what you want. So muscle is your friend. The way to activate muscle is to do more resistance exercise. And I think a lot of people make this mistake. They have an hour to spend at the gym or for physical activity, and they spend all of it on cardio instead of allocating at least a little bit, I would say at least half, to resistance exercise.
Well,
sleep is huge, and again, it's one of the big neglected master levers of health. Sleep is, we would not have evolved to still need 8 hours of sleep, which, to answer your question, the average amount of sleep that the majority of us still need is about 8 to 8.5 hours. The range would be 4 to 11. There's a few people that can get by with 4 hours, but there's others that need up to 11 hours. And this is something that's pre-programmed, it's preset. We can't really learn to sleep less than what our need is. But humans have been, in this form that we recognize, walking around the earth for at least 400,000 years. And if sleep wasn't important, we would have by now figured out a way not to sleep at all. But think about it, 8 hours is a third of your life. So if you've evolved to require that you spend a third of your life sleeping, it must be pretty darn important. And it turns out it is, because when we sleep, the body resets itself. It's not only important for mental health, for memory consolidation, for creativity, but also for resetting your metabolism. We have melatonin receptors on the pancreas. Why would there be melatonin receptors, which is a sleep hormone, on my pancreas? That means the pancreas is trying to sync up, right? The metabolism is trying to sync itself up when I go to bed at night. It's like you're downloading better software and upgrading yourself when you sleep. Habit change is about setting up the environment. So I use an acronym MATE, M-A-T-E. MATE stands for, M is for motivation, A is for ability, T is for trigger, and then the most important piece is the E, which can be interpreted two ways: environment and emotion. So if you're trying to change something, you need to be motivated to change, you need to have the ability to change. There needs to be some sort of trigger that said, okay, now I need to do it. Yeah, I haven't done it for this long, but this is the time. But you could have all those pieces in place. If you don't have the environment that's conducive to that change and the emotional buy-in, you're likely to slide back again. And the environment is about not just physical environment. I need to see what's around me, what's in my refrigerator, what's in my kitchen, what's in my car, what's in my snack drawer. But it's also social environment and psychological environment. Right? So I'm changing physically, I'm changing what I have around me, but I also need to change perhaps who I socialize with. If all my friends like to go to the bar and get drunk on Friday nights and I'm trying to cut back on alcohol, then I might need to start hanging out with a different set of friends.
Yeah.
And then the third piece, which I think, again, going back to the mind-body connection, the most important piece is the psychological environment. I need to have the right mindset and not think about it as I'm depriving myself, oh, poor me, I can't have fun anymore, all my friends are going to be enjoying themselves, but oh, I can't, I have to sit here and be all by myself. And that mindset won't sustain itself, because after a week or two, you're going to say, screw this, I'm coming with you guys.
Yeah.
Unless you have the right mindset.